Rowan Ramsey is the Liberal member for Grey in the Federal Parliament. How are you, Rowan?
Going very good, thanks, Ricky, in Canberra, and finishing up today, but we've got 1 week to go for this one.
Absolutely. Now, Senator Rex Patrick, I mean, you and I have seen a fair bit probably between us in federal politics, but a senator putting press releases out, having a crack at outcomes in an electorate and a local member, seems like he's having a bob each way here about whether he stays in the Senate or runs for your seat.
Well, I don't think there's much doubt that he'll be running in Grey. I think he's done some polling and knows he's not going to get a Senate seat back, and so he's looking around to see what else he can do. And he's putting all his efforts, he's forgetting about the rest of the state now, but he's allowed to do that. I mean, some of the comments he made about me, though, I noticed he put up a tweet saying that I'm sitting around resting on my laurels. Well, I challenge him to keep up to me, and I do about 90,000 kilometres a year in a car. I'm pretty fit. I run most every second morning or so. He can have a go if he likes it. Because I think he's just flying in and out of Adelaide, as he does, and going around. I mean, I know he just tells people the advantage of being a crossbencher. You don't actually have to fix anything. You just got to go around pointing your finger. But I think the comments that he put out based on the release of a report into disadvantage in Grey, it's not surprising that Grey is one of the most challenging electorates in Australia. It's bigger than New South Wales. Has a lot of remote Indigenous communities and far-flung communities that are difficult to service, even in the settled areas, agricultural areas where we're struggling to get doctors and things like that. And there's a whole host of problems for that. And we are working on a lot of fronts to try and fix it. That's I just take that as politicking, and I'll get on with my job. I did a bit of I think he made a comment about you got to do more than roads. Well, we're doing over $1 billion on the roads, and people driving around wouldn't notice that. But we put over the last few years over $40 million into reducing Indigenous disadvantage, and that comes back to those issues of disadvantage in Grey. We've had $42 million come into drought aid, $40 million into the health sector, and I'll put it in the headspace. There's about 120 units around Australia, and we've got 4 of them in Grey. 124, I think, in Australia. We've got 4 of them in Grey. Hasn't come about by accident. Infrastructure upgrades, men's sheds, mobile phones. We've got 48 mobile phone black spots, either under construction or 31 live. There's been investments in jobs, and BBRF's been a wonderful project for Grey.
That's the Building Better Regions Fund.
Yeah, over 55 million coming over the last 5 years, and that's. I don't know there'd be any electorates doing any better than that. It's when you look at the size of the pie, we're doing extremely well.
Yep. We noticed that, and Rex Patrick that rattled off a whole bunch of what he says are his achievements for the electorate. Do you take issue with any of those claims that he's made there, that he secured various things?
I don't know what government he belongs to. He rode into the seats on Nick Zetterford's resignation, and then left the party that Nick founded. So, if you want a character assessment, you can go there. But I think, like for him to claim all these things is, we know his government. And I don't work necessarily through the headlines. That's the way I've actually built up my reputation for getting things done, is by building friendships and partnerships in the Parliament with the ministers. And I sat down and had a chat with the Treasurer last night, and that's what I can do. Yep. And I reckon I stand up our achievement in Grey. I hear people run, wish we were a more marginal electorate. Well, I think it's Paul Kelly that wrote the song, Be Careful What You Pray For.
Yeah, well, one thing that came up, I talked with Rex Patrick about this one as well, about the uranium in the electorate, and Bridget McKenzie, the regionalisation minister, told Flow recently she believed that small modular reactors were part of the future of shifting population to the regions and growing regional economies. What's your view on the prospects of these small modular reactors?
I think the political landscape in Australia is so difficult on nuclear. It's been used as an argument of division for 50 years, probably longer than that, but certainly since the middle 60s. And I think the misinformation and entrenched positions are so deep. The only way Australia can move forward in the nuclear industry for generation is when we have Labor Party support. You have to have bipartisan support. No one is going to invest in that area. I mean, at the moment, there's a law against it. It's as simple as that. It was passed to get the nuclear reactor at Lucas Heights under John Howard. It needs to be overturned in the Parliament, or you couldn't even do that at the moment. You couldn't possibly get that through the Senate. So, you know, while I respect Bridget's view and I don't argue with her on technological terms, I think in political terms, it's all but impossible.
So if we were to put the politics to one side, on the technological, this green hydrogen, for instance, that's been discussed, is it sort of a neck-and-neck race, or in your view, about which one might deliver baseload energy sooner?
No, I don't. No, I think our answers to the energy transition are multi-pronged, and I think we've got to back a lot of horses in this race. We've selected 6 horses at this stage, if you like, and that includes hydrogen, but also includes green steel and green aluminium. It includes solar and energy efficiency and enhancing carbon in soils. Sequestration is another one. I'm sort of rattling them off the top of my head. So,
I think the roadmap that the coalition's put out has left open the option for nuclear technology. Is that a horse you're not backing, or is the coalition backing?
If somebody asked me, do I think nuclear technology is a good solution for Australia, I say absolutely yes. But it's pointless talking about it unless you've got the Labor Party on side, because the investment timeframes on these are incredibly long. We don't have that built-up expertise in Australia. You know, the best estimates, even for moderate size generators, would be like in the decade at least, and we can have multiple changes of government in that time. So unless you've got a rock-solid guarantee that both major parties are backing you in, you cannot go forward. And apart from the fact it's illegal at the moment, you can't go forward unless you overturn that. Now, there was a time, I'm going to say it was 2011, I suppose, before Fukushima, when there were a number of leading lights in the Labor Party that were actually saying, well, if we're going to do something serious about CO2 reduction, we have to be seriously looking at nuclear energy. But Fukushima just put that argument back more than a decade, to the point where it's really hard to have an intelligent conversation, like an unemotional conversation in Australia about these issues. I've been for 6 years now dealing with the proposal for a low-level radioactive waste management facility in my hometown, and I just know how the comments on something that's relatively simple, on something there where we've got waste in over 100 sites in Australia, probably more like 1,000, frankly, and that we've got a major level of this material sitting at Lucas Heights surrounded by $1 million houses. We can still have an argument against nuclear. Now, I think to take that next step into reactors is a quantum step, and it's not something that we can do from my side of politics. It needs the Labor Party to say, actually, we think this is a good idea. If we're going to reduce CO2 emissions, it's a very important plank of what we can do, and then we can get together and do it.
Just while I've got you, because I know this has come up just recently, and it's something you have been working on, the Joy Baluch bridge duplication. Yorkeys crossing, if I'm not mistaken, has been closed for some time due to wet weather. That's sort of, if you get the duplication through, the reliance on Yorkeys crossing diminishes, is that right?
Almost disappears. There will be some super big loads that will have to go around, but by and large, the ability to use 2 lanes of the bridge going one way, it's the same as going down the highway. If you've got 2 lanes, you can put a lot bigger lane down there than if you've only just got the 1 lane. And you can do that without stopping traffic. So while I don't know, I haven't discussed with Transport SA about what the new load limits will be and what the width limits will be to go over the bridge. I imagine it'll be about the same as getting them down the highway, where if you've got one of those big loads, you've got a police escort, and that's what I think will happen over the bridge. And I think Yorkeys will become very much just for things that won't fit over the bridge, which will be very few loads indeed. But I haven't had those detailed discussions with Transport SA. That's just what I've assumed will happen.
Yeah, because we've got a situation, I don't know whether it's changed, but where trucks have had to just stop and wait for things to dry up because they just simply can't get through due to the works on the bridge.
And that has been one of the issues that's driven me on this. If we were now to have an accident on the bridge, a chemical spill or something, it's an accident where you just can't get across, and it does get closed from time to time. And a fire on the west side, the nearest fire truck is in Whyalla. And I thought that was an intolerable situation for a long time. I took originally Darren Chester as Transport Minister there, then Michael McCormack, who was Deputy Prime Minister as well, and managed to secure the funding for that bridge, the 80% component coming from the Commonwealth Government, 160 million. And I'm very pleased to have done so because in about another 12 months' time, that will be an issue of the past.
Yep, well, that's good news for the local community. Rowan, Ramsey, thank you very much for your generous offer of time today. Much appreciated.
No problem, Ricky. Good to talk with you. Anytime.